Good morning, traders. It is 6:08 a.m. Pacific time on July 18th, 2019. Today's a Thursday. Sorry, I got to turn down the NPR in the background. Welcome to my video, I guess just my trading journal. This is the Jigsaw day trader platform. These are futures products. Just really quick from left to right. This is the Ultra Bond over here. This is the 30-year. This right here in the middle is the 5-year Treasury Note. These are bonds over here. This is a Treasury Note. This is a 10-year Treasury Note. And all the way over here on the right is the E-mini S&P. Just typically, it works as an inverse correlation to these other products, although lately that really hasn't been the case, unfortunately. Excuse me. If you need more information about Jigsaw, it's a great platform. It's just trading on order flow. There's no charts here, no indicators, no bells and whistles. It's all just reading price action and trading on what you see. If you want more information about it, just search YouTube. There's all sorts of stuff out there. It's a really innovative product, highly recommended. It's not a strategy, it's actually a skill. It's something you can use for the duration of your career. So enough about the infomercial. Let's move on to the overnight price action. Just very quickly, we opened over here, kind of went sideways, popped through, I guess we just made new highs, sold back down, basically just traded in this little range here until we had some data come out. We were trading right at the point of control until data came out. We went lower here, basically made a new low, almost made a new high, almost up to the highs, and then now we're trading down. We're starting to backfill into this area. As of right now, this is a delayed chart. So that was that little move there was based on this Philadelphia Fed Business Outlook survey, which came out, was a huge beat. Basically, it's just an excuse to drive some price action to add volatility in the market, because that's a very, very volatile number, and it's often extremely revised after the fact. So it's kind of a nonsense number, in my opinion. But it's just used to, like I said, drive price action and inject a little bit of temporary volatility into the market. Jobless claims came out as expected. That might have had something to do with that move as well, but something tells me not really. So let's see, what have we got going? It is 6:10 a.m. Like I said, we still have about 20 minutes till cash open. Most likely just trade in this little range until that time. If we get back down here to the low, might look at something. In fact, right when I started talking, we were trading down in this area, and if I wasn't kind of doing the routine, I might have looked at something there, but that's fine. Otherwise, we're just going to kind of sit on our hands until we have cash open. No other real announcements on the calendar, as you can see. So there's no real risk of that. There's also, or there's always, there's always the risk of the, errant tweet or whatever else. So that's always something to be wary of. But that's why we have stop losses, right? That's why you always get those stop losses on there. What else is there to say really besides just areas of interest? I think the overnight low is going to act as support for any move, or a resistance for any move higher. Yesterday's low would act as support. This is the swing low that was made, when was that, earlier this week, or last week, excuse me. Yeah, that was on Yeah, last week. Just looking at a chart real quick. Didn't quite hit the swing low that was made the prior week. Actually, that was last month. That was the 11th of June. Yeah, so. Whereas the ZB actually hit that like almost to the tick. It's pretty interesting. It's kind of a bullish indicator if you're trading a little bit more long term. But so we have current low. That's going to be an area of interest if we get back down there. Overnight low, although I don't really like to engage mid-profile. It's going to take a lot to jump in there, and obviously the overnight high and yesterday's high, we have a little bit of confluence at this level here. So that's kind of what we're looking at. But like I said, as of right now, we have about 15 minutes till cash open. Don't know if we'll see too much action between now and then. But we'll just go ahead and pause the video, and if something comes up, obviously we will start it back up and go through the process of evaluating what we see. Okay, we're back here. It is 6:56 a.m. Pacific time. Kind of as expected, we just sort of been consolidating in this little area. We've had point of control shift down for the last 45 minutes or so. Just been consolidating here. I've looked at a longer term chart, and there is definitely support for both of these products right here at this level. So I don't think it's a coincidence that after that data came out that this we had that rapid move down, and then it just got bought up right here, because I think there's some longer term players that had some resting orders sitting at this level. But that said, we've just kind of been consolidating here. My bias at this point is to the upside. I really like it at 8, maybe like it at 8.5. Dropped down in here a couple times, and it seems to get bought up pretty quickly, but then the interest stalls right around 10 or 10.5. So definitely consolidating in here. Again, bias to the upside. It's got to move one way or the other. I think it's definitely responding to what's happening over here in the E-mini. So if we do start pushing highs in the E-mini, hopefully we can get down into closer to support, 8, 7.5. Looking for a reversal move back up higher. I think the ES has another 8 to 10 points higher before I think it falls back into range and starts trading a little bit lower, trading back to this level actually. So I think if we do see that move up higher in the ES, hopefully this sells back down in, creates another buying opportunity. But I wouldn't look at selling this, even if we do get back up to the overnight high into this area, because again, I just don't like engaging in mid-profile. Although this little profile step over here in the 30 years starting to look kind of appealing. But as of right now, just sitting on our hands, still an observer, still watching and waiting. So yeah, go ahead and pause the video and we'll come back in if something else comes up. Okay, so kind of kicking myself for not buying this low over here, because we're back up to the overnight high, or excuse me, the overnight low. Kind of stalking a short here, but changing my mind, at least at the moment. As the ES started pushing up, actually made new highs. there was actually no response here at all from this product, and then as it dropped in, it started to bid up through this. So again, this is not my favorite trade. This would really be a continuation trade, continuation lower, although we could just kind of range in this area for the rest of the day. Really like to see just a lot of absorption right here at this level. See if buyer or sellers can just soak up all the buying and just start to fill in this profile back down to the point of control. Didn't really see any pushback there. Fell in on 1100, only like 400 up. But we didn't see any buying back up into that. So we got the fill. We're definitely wrong at 13, 3-tick risk. Could definitely see this get back down to the point of control. If it does go, I think we'll know here pretty soon. Here we go. Come on. Let's start hitting down into this guy. Watch him melt off. Come on. Push it back. Trying to add to this thing, get up to a full 3 lot. Or not full, but get up to a 3 lot. Not the best response thus far. Really like to see sellers step up by now. I don't think, doesn't look like that's going to happen. Really want to see a lot more selling, especially with the ES pushing highs like this. Just seems like yeah, might have been a little premature on this one. I think I wanted to trade this more than it wanted to be traded, and it really didn't get the signals that I was looking for. Sort of made up my mind I was going to trade it before I got any sort of confirmation or signals. If I can take this offer at 12, I think I got a chance. Nope. Not good. We basically didn't even backtick at all, really, thus far. It's just sort of been a straight up move. Figured to be some sort of a fade back down, but just buyers are just meaning business right now. Probably could have covered that a little bit sooner, I guess. I sort of knew that was happening. I just sort of relying on hope at that point. So it is what it is. That's what, 3 ticks. Okay, we'll just reevaluate. It's I underestimated the strength of buyers at that point. If this fucking thing sells back in, I'm gonna be pissed. All right, well, we'll pause the video. If something else comes up, we will take a look. Okay, so we're back at 7:36 a.m. Pacific time. I must be a glutton for punishment because I got trying to get filled here. You can see 14,000 is printed over here. Buyers have been trying to take this higher and they can't. So I'm going to go ahead and try to get filled here, looking for a move back down into towards a point of control. Based on this absorption here, I was in previously at 12, got stopped out at 13, and thus far only 144 contracts have printed up into there, and 3 of those were mine. Didn't quite get bailed out by the volume stop on that one, unfortunately. But I've been slipped before, so I don't know what the magic number is. I have volume stop set at 2,500. I think today, it seems like it has to be adjusted on a daily basis because we're in the 3,000-4,000s today. So maybe that needs to come down to 1,500 or so. Normally when we're in the 5,000-6,000s, that's a safe number. But I digress. All right, we got the fill again. Definitely wrong at 13.5, 2-tick risk. Again, we're looking for this to pop back down into the point of control. Hopefully we just sort of trade this range here after yesterday had that slow grind higher based on what turned out to be a trend day in the ES. Again, it's 7:40 a.m. pushing 8 o'clock European close. That's sort of when the grind started happening. Not to say it's going to happen again, but I'm just saying that the market changes at that time. It seems to change at that time every day. So it's always something to keep an eye out. Again, this is not my favorite trade, but the absorption dictated it. I should have waited on the previous trade for something like this. This is the proper setup, in my opinion. So we'll see what happens. I like the risk reward. It's very clear that absorption has been happening. Definitely got the back tick. But when we did drop down got down to about 11 on the back tick, and it got bought right back up. 11 would act as intraday support for this little consolidation zone. So we got to keep an eye out for that. In fact, I think that's going to be target number 1. And we'll just sort of spread it out like so. Like I said previously, I do think the ES has another 5 points higher. Hopefully that's enough to put a little pressure on these guys so they can start selling this down. Yeah, I think the biggest indicator here that this wasn't going to work was basically that it's just stalled out completely. See if there's some way that we can work a scratch here, but it doesn't look likely. Or just let it ride. Shit, I don't know. It's always a problem, always a dilemma. I just think that the setup is not there anymore. but the fact that the bids and offers are a little bit lighter than they normally are. Normally you'd see 4, 5, 6,000 in the bids and offers, so there's a little bit of volatility to be expected. So I don't know if we can expect the ZN to hold to a tick like it normally does, but this looks like it's just going to go higher. It is what it is. It's this is a good setup in normal circumstances. So I'm kind of happy to lose a couple ticks here. I'm not happy to, but it's okay. Because I think this is a valid setup, whereas the previous time I just basically jumped in and it's like a hope and a prayer. I'm gonna let this ride. I'm willing to risk 2 ticks just to see if this pans out. I have my doubts at this point just because we did have the absorption, but there is just been zero follow through. So I think they are kind of acquiesced to buyers and just gonna let them do what they want at this point. But it's worth 2 ticks to let it play out, I think. Although I think my percentage of success here at this point are pretty low. Like, I guess the question would be, if you weren't in a trade, would you take a short? Like, would you just sell 12.5 right now? And the answer to that is no. So I think that's why this is just sort of a failed experiment at this point. Being as it's almost 8 o'clock, it's probably my last trade of the day. So the scratch is there if you want it. Just keeping an eye on some of these other products. I think we need the 30-year to get past 1817 in order to have a chance. Ultra bond, whatever, I think that follows the 30-year. 5-year we need down to probably 23. I really like, I'm not trying to get my hopes up, but I like how that bid pulled off there, but with nothing hitting down into it. To set my targets back out, I'd completely given up on this trade. So we need the 30-year to push down through 17 here. So this was previous support right here, and you see that that thing barely pulled off. They hit 5,000 or 5 down into it. Just gives you some indication of what's actually there. Because some of the algos, as soon as they hit down into it, you'll see exactly, it'll pull off, and you'll see what orders are really there. And that didn't flinch at all at 4,000. So we'll see if we do get down and they start to hit down into it again. If anything starts to pull, thus far nothing. If we don't get something to pull here pretty soon, it might just pull it, cover this trade, or at least still 4,000, nothing's pulling yet. Come on, pull it off. 30-year still pushing the lows. 5-year got a back tick already. Shit. 1,600 up. It's not. Yep, I think this is gonna just. That was the little fade move down. I think this is just gonna blow up higher, so it might be a scratch trade at this point. I don't want to wait too long like yesterday and just have this thing rip up through me. So that's it. Scratch that trade. 8 a.m. See what happens. But that was the move. I tried to get filled on. Should have been quicker to get filled on that move down there. I think, like I said previously, it's a little bit more illiquid, the ZN is, than it normally is. So I think whereas you might see 1 or 2 back ticks, you're seeing 2 or 3. So either I've already reduced lot size. You just got to be a little bit quicker to pull things off. Also, what I should have kept in mind was the fact that that was kind of a lost trade for me. So anything, 1 or 2 ticks would have been great out of a trade that pretty much given up on. So we'll see what happens. I'm not really inclined to sell this back down. I think if anything, it was maybe the opportunity there. If I wasn't sure, it would have been to buy 11.5, especially with that response we just saw there. But it is what it is. I'm gonna pause the video, and if it's 8 a.m. We'll see kind of what changes we see in the market here. So this might be it for me today.